Hey everyone. Surprise, surprise. The CBC is actually coming out with an article that divides the sexes. Can you imagine? I was shocked this morning. Of course, I'm joking. How would I ever be shocked? That's the go-to narrative. It's like, it's almost, I can't imagine when you're thinking about it and some have an editorial board meeting every morning at the CBC. It's all about, okay, we've got 20 stories we got to go with today, folks. Now, let's find out how we can at least make half of them all about dividing the sexes. Or, hey, listen, let's only do maybe a quarter of them dividing the sexes, and let's do another quarter dividing races, and let's do another quarter dividing people by economic prosperity. And like I say, it's all about divvying up the population. It's all about collectivism and this whole pretense of Marxism, oppressor, oppressed, oppressor, oppressed. Everything's about that. And of course, that's just like beauty's in the eye of the beholder. When it comes to central planners or the media pundits or the opinion makers, it's all about what they want to put forward and present as the dominant narrative, as the dominant dialogue to suggest that this person is the oppressor, this person is the oppressed. And they want you to believe that whatever they say, whatever they suggest, whoever they say are the oppressed, well, you better get in line and recognize that they're the oppressed. Doesn't matter if they're talking about women. They want you to think of women as just like the board, as a collective. All women are oppressed and all men are the oppressors. That's reducing people and humanity to such a degree that you have to pick one small, tiny area and use that as the basis, as the platform, as the foundation for the rhetoric that you espouse. Like, come on, folks. Like, as if humans, like I say, we're a little bit more complicated than just men or women, right? There's a few other variances involved other than just what sex we happen to be. Right? But like I say, the folks at the CBC, they don't care for all those nuances. That's way too much work to explain that stuff. They just want to go with sensationalized tabloid style reporting, picking a team, picking a tribe, showing solidarity with them, and saying everyone else, fuck you. Anyways, headline, CBC News, Montreal. Montreal nonprofit gives women a chance to break into male-dominated video game industry. Game Incubator starts January 3rd, supports women with no previous game developing experience. Pixels Montreal launches their latest video game making incubator today, designed to train and mentor women who are curious about game development but can't picture themselves in the male-dominated industry. No experience is required to join the incubators, but all participants have to identify as female. Put the shoe on the other foot. Could you imagine if this article, and it was men, and it was all about men and no women are allowed? Could you imagine the outrage that you would hear from the people at the CBC? But when the shoe's on the other foot, they promote it, right? That's that feminist culture. And I mean Trudeau, and I mean look at the people at the CBC that dominate that place. And you'll understand easily that it's all ideologically driven. Like I say, there's not even a pretense anymore of this $1 billion+ crony corporation, this crown corporation, which is just a propagandist arm of the government. There's no longer any pretense anymore of them being even remotely objective. They're ideologically driven because it's run by a bunch of ideologues. And that's what you're going to expect going forward, is just a non-stop continuation of this cultural Marxism, this postmodernism, this divisive politics, this identity politics, this race to the lowest common denominator, this destruction of meritocracy and the implementation of equality of outcome, which, I mean, think about it. How could you have an equality of outcome? I mean, we're not all robots. We're not all of the same competent levels. So the only way you could ever have equality of outcome is forcing the people that are better than you down to where your level is at, right? So, yeah, you might think you're helping these ladies by giving them all the advantage and preventing men from competing with them, but how is that really benefiting these ladies? In reality, it's not. You're just giving them a little little area, a little space to play in. And like I said, I'm going to read this article because I really hope that this initiative, even though it's immoral, illegal, and goes against our very charter rights, you can't discriminate based on sex or race. But anyways, they're doing all that shit. But like I say, when you're the ones that get the right laws and when you're the ones that get to impose the laws, you're the one that gets to determine who has to suffer from those laws. So even if it is unjust, immoral, or unconstitutional, well, when you're the ones in power, you can just say, hey, I don't think that. Or you just don't have to punish them, right? But I really do hope that this initiative is at least privately funded. Because if it turns out that it's being publicly funded and men are being forced to have women have more benefit or advantage than them, like that's just so disgusting, folks. That's affirmative action on a level that's just, I mean, outright vile, immoral, and completely unethical. There definitely aren't enough women in the gaming industry, especially when you get into more technical areas, says Pixel's co-director Corbin Palacios. It's like, well, there's not, you know why? There's not enough women shit pumpers for the porta-johns either. I've known many times in my construction jobs, every time I've worked in construction areas, all the guys that show up to pump the shitters, they're all men. There's not near enough women pumping fucking shitters. And another thing, there's not nearly enough women out there collecting garbage, right? Pouring concrete, paving roads. I mean, if you women are all so concerned about putting women on the same level as men in all these economic areas, well, how come you're not promoting that? I've never heard any of you out there promoting that women should be doing some of these dirty jobs. You know, the jobs that actually have to happen that allows everyone else to live so freely and so seamlessly in their modern, entitled lives. You know, plumbers, electricians, you know, all the grunt work. You know, all the oil sands people, all the welders that are welding in minus 40, 50 degree weather. There's just not enough women out there. We need more women. You don't hear any of that stuff though, do you? No, it's all about, let's pick what's the best paying job, what seems to be the most cushy, requires the least amount of work as far as physical labor. What it is these feminazis, they want to pick and choose particular segments or sectors of the economy where, we want to dominate there too because we see people are benefiting tremendously from it. And it's just men, so we want to benefit. Don't care if it's the fact that it just happens to be that's men's forte, that's men's area of expertise. We don't care about that. No, we want to do it because I want to benefit as much as those men are. I really don't know any woman. I mean, my wife, my mother, and other women that I know personally that I talk about this stuff, none of them respect or appreciate anyone that treats them like second-class citizens. They're just so useless or helpless that they need other people to prop them up. Like, really, I don't know how these people, these women, these feminists think you're benefiting your counterparts by treating them as if they're so incompetent you have to give them favor and precedent or priority over everyone else. And if you don't, well, they'll just be failures for all of eternity. Whatever. Corbin Palacios works at video game maker Ubisoft and has a bachelor's degree in computer science and computation arts. In the 5 years since launching the nonprofit, workshops have been attended by a variety of women, including students, chemists, designers, and even a grandmother. We show them making games is possible and that all these people in the industry, they exist. And they've gone through what you've gone through. You're not alone, she said. Cohen Palacios added that the goal of the workshop isn't to train attendees for careers necessarily, but to empower them to explore game making. Two former incubator attendees, Jennifer Sunahara and Elaine Gusella, are leading the winter 2018 edition. Sunahara took the workshop in 2015 and said she was glad that meeting up with people to develop video games wasn't as intimidating as it seemed. Pixels offered a judgment-free, nurturing environment to experiment and create, as well as the opportunity for constructive criticism from people who have my best interests at heart, Sunahara said. She made a strategy puzzle game called Hexplosions during her first incubator. So anyway, I'm not going to read any more of this article. It just goes in and add a little bit more of personal stories and experiences, right? But I mean, come on. Once again, This is just pure discrimination. So while the left, and especially, like I say, these hacks in the CBC, they constantly talk about male patriarchy and discrimination against this or that or that or this, and all these groups that are supposedly oppressed. But in reality, look at this. This is a clear-cut example, because usually when they talk about that stuff, you can actually call them out on it and see, you're lying, like the wage gap. You can point out, see, you're misrepresenting. That's not even factually true. In this situation, it is pure factually true that they're hiring only women or training only women. I mean, it's as clear as day, right? But yet they seem more than willing and unabashed to present a story like this. But yet, like I say, if the shoe was on the other foot, think of the outrage. Think of the fucking narratives that you would hear if someone actually put forth an article like this, but put men in its place instead of women. Where it was just men promoting men, and we only want men here, screw women, da-da-da-da-da. Think about it. I mean, come on, Canada. Whether you're man or woman, liberal, conservative, libertarian, whatever, I don't care where you are on this ideological or political spectrum. If you have any morality or logically consistent universalities running around your head at all when it comes to ethics, you know this is bullshit. You know this is immoral. Well, it's unjust and it's unconstitutional based on the laws of our land, right? But they don't seem to care about any of that, because in the end, they know who's got their back. They know that Trudeau, Mr. Feminist Trudeau, or Kathleen Wynne, or a lot of these feminists that are running the provinces and the federal government in this country, they know they're not going to punish or penalize them for any of this stuff. So they're running rickshot over men constantly and rubbing their noses in it. And the worst part is, us men are being forced to subsidize and pay for this CBC, right? Wow. Hopefully a day will come when we will no longer be burdened with subsidizing the very people that want to oppose us, to oppress us, that have hatred and vitriol towards us. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.